Good morning, everybody. It is Thanksgiving here. Current time is 10:12 a.m. I hope you all are going to have a great holiday today. It's going to be a good day. We have some stuff to talk about, though, and yes, we are here covering this on Thanksgiving for you guys. We do have a significant lake effect event that is about to unfold here across Michigan. It is a long duration lake effect event, but we will have our first initial beginning of it and also some heavier snowfall rates throughout tonight and into tomorrow, which this is why we're live. We're going to try and get to you guys before we get on with our day. People getting together. Just I want to get this out as early as possible. So before we start, though, shout out to our sponsor, Cats Roofing and Siding, based out of Lansing and Battle Creek metro areas. They cover roofing, siding, windows, and gutters across south central Michigan. So if you need those done on your house, feel free to give them a call, 517-485-9886. Let's go ahead and jump right on in. So for those of you who probably know or maybe don't know, we are expecting significant lake effect snowfall over the course of the next 5 days. And our first heaviest batch of this is going to be roughly from about midnight tonight through about midnight Saturday. So about a 24-hour period there, all throughout Friday, essentially. GFS model gives us the overview. We have a system we've been tracking off to our south that's moving into Pennsylvania this morning. That brought some snow showers to Indiana, Ohio, and mostly rain, though. But that's moving off to the east. Didn't really impact Michigan. And then the winds behind that turn out of the northwest. These black lines indicate our wind direction. That is all facing to the northwest and westerly. That is what's going to cause our lake effect snow as warm lake waters interact with those colder winds. We have a source of lift close by. We're going to have lake effect snow being a possibility, but not only just for today and tomorrow, but keep an eye on those black lines. They continue to stay westerly and northwesterly. This is now Sunday, and a little bit of a break before it starts back up northwesterly. Then here's Monday, Tuesday, before finally letting up here before another potential clipper system moves through for your Tuesday and Wednesday. We're tracking that as well. So a pretty active period here. So between right now and Tuesday, lake effect snow is likely. And then also Tuesday, Wednesday, a clipper system that could dump a few more inches across portions of Michigan will move through around that time frame. So quite active period here. Let's go ahead and break this down day by day. This briefing is going to focus on Friday, or potentially tonight, really, into Friday specifically. First and foremost, looking at the radar for lake effect snow, the mesoscale models, HRRR, NAM3, they do the best at this. We currently have lake effect in the UP that will continue to spread southward for the lower peninsula by the time we get to this afternoon. Looking at the model here, we see the lake effect bands start kicking up there. By the time we reach midnight tonight, we have a full-fledged lake effect snow, not going to say outbreak, but lake effect snow bands are taking shape there across a good majority of our snow belts. Going into tomorrow morning, those will only increase in coverage and intensity. And as we get closer to that Saturday time frame, those will begin to let up a little bit. But if you're in the UP, they continue. Overall accumulations on the models, we do think that the overall idea is correct, but overall amounts will vary. Let's go ahead and dive into this for you guys. So overall amounts, according to the models, going here over to forecast. Here we go. This is through Saturday morning. Now, this is likely overdone in spots and underdone in others, but I want to focus on a couple of points here in particular. Number one, the localized nature of these snow bands. Notice how these heavier bands here in pink and whites are very, very thin. So this is going to really come down to the way the wind is oriented, because even just minor shifts in the wind can deviate that snow band and kind of shift things off track. The overall idea, though, is the same across many models, and that is somebody or some people in West Michigan, northern lower Michigan, and the UP will get a lot of snow. I think that's pretty much guaranteed here. A lot of snow being probably 6 to 12 plus inches up in the UP, perhaps 2 feet or more. Up in the northern lower, same thing applies. But even for southwestern lower, we're seeing these bands take shape that could dump as much as a foot or potentially more in spots on the model here. So keep that in mind. We're not going to know exactly who is going to get those, because it's all very dependent on how that wind is shifted and stuff like that. But keep that in mind as we go through Friday, especially. The overall takeaway is snow is likely beginning tonight into tomorrow for West Michigan and the UP. Looking at another thing to keep an eye on is wind gust potential. through Friday, especially for the UP, but also western lower. These are your wind gusts here. We're seeing anywhere from 20 to 30, maybe 35 miles per hour in terms of our wind gusts here. And this snow is going to be light and fluffy. So blowing, drifting conditions, whiteout conditions, low visibility, all possible, especially tomorrow during the day. If you're traveling out and about on the west side of Michigan or in the UP, you guys need to take your precautions, make sure you're prepared for that. And honestly, I would advise stay off the main interstates, US 131, 94, just because this is I don't want to say it this way, but this is the type of weather that we have pileups in Michigan. Obviously, we don't hope for that. We don't want that, but this is just the right conditions coming together. We're likely going to have multiple accidents across West Michigan. So just all I'm trying to communicate here, be careful, be prepared, and expect heavily deteriorating conditions and quickly deteriorating conditions in and out of these snow bands. Looking at the overall picture past Friday, another thing to keep an eye on is our temperatures. After today, they're going to drop off significantly. And by Saturday morning, we're going to be likely in the single digits and potentially close to zero for our wind chills across portions of Michigan. This cold air is here to stay. It's not going to be this cold every single day. Looking at the future here, this is your current temperature forecast from the European Ensemble members. We're seeing that big drop off there after today. We're seeing a 26 for a high there out of Lansing on Saturday. But just notice how we go into the long term there. We're into the low 30s and basically low to mid 20s for lows. And wind chills are only going to drive that further down. So overall takeaway from that is cold temperatures here. Cold temperatures are here to stay for the long term here. We're likely not going to see any more warm-ups into the 50s and 60s this year. We're seeing a little bit of a warm-up potentially toward mid to late December, but I don't have any confidence in that just yet. Most models are saying cold through at least the first 15 days of December, and potentially more systems coming through as well. So a very active, heightened pattern here with cold temperatures. Definitely a lot of snow chances coming up for you guys. So overall, taking it all, putting it all together, we have a 5-day snowfall outlook. I'm going to reiterate that. This is a 5-day snowfall outlook projected from Friday to Tuesday of snow totals. This is yesterday's map. We will update this later this afternoon. We're going to have a 5-day outlook just like this one. We're also going to have one specifically for tomorrow's snowfall. So keep a lookout for those two maps coming. But overall, this is our general thinking as of yesterday or last night. We're going to have multiple areas here with a foot or more of snow, especially in the pink zones there. Then the 6 to 12 zones are close surrounding those, especially up there in northern lower UP as well. And then southwest Michigan from Grand Rapids over to about Battle Creek down to Sturgis. We have that in the 6 to 12. We're going to have to adjust that, I think, for the latest model guidance, because between yesterday and today, we're getting a further east movement with these snow bands. We may need to drag that 1 to 3 further east, the 3 to 6 further east, and adjust north-south and potentially add some more contours in there. So we'll have updates on this later today. I wish we had one now for it. We're just kind of waiting for more model data to come in. We want to get the briefing out here for you guys so you guys knew what was coming before we got into the holiday. So that's why we're live before we have new posts and new maps to share with you guys. But I just want you guys to all be aware of that. So adjustments will likely be made. So stay tuned to the page for that. With that being said, I see 35 comments here. Let's go ahead and shout chat out here. I see Stephanie, Tammy, Raymond, Crystal, Curtis, Teresa, Matthew, Margaret. What's up, guys? Good to see you in here. Good Thanksgiving morning to all of you. If you guys got questions, feel free to drop them in chat. We are here for the next 10 or 15 minutes or so to answer your questions before we get on with our day and get to looking over new data and making these new maps for you guys.
Yep, and when you guys are putting your questions in there, something else I'd like to share for you here. Just as a reminder here, this is our first lake effect snow event of the season, so it's a good time to remind everybody what a lake effect snow event is and how to drive if you are driving in it. I know it's a big travel weekend for a lot of people coming home into Thanksgivings. So really, while you guys are out on the roads, prepare for rapidly deteriorating conditions. Oftentimes in lake effect snow events, motorists will go from seeing sunshine to whiteout conditions in less than a mile. Things deteriorate very, very quickly within these bands, especially the heavier bands. Plan on that. If you're on the road, slow down. Have your headlights on, but don't have your brights on. Have them on low beam. Brights actually scatter the light on the snowflakes and make it harder to see for yourself and other drivers on on the roadway. It's also important to stay in your lane and increase following distance, meaning don't follow too close. If someone's driving slower than you, match their speed. Don't drive aggressively and try to cut them off. That doesn't help yourself or them. And have a pre-prepared vehicle safety kit with you. I'll go into what that is here in a second. Something else that's very important to know or talk about that not a lot of people talk about is what to do if you are caught or come up on a pileup. What do you do in that situation if there's a pileup in front of you? Oftentimes, pileups occur, especially on your snowbelt highways like I-94, et cetera, and so forth. Motorists run into intense lake effect bands where visibility goes from miles to feet. If you come across a pileup or an accident, if you can, stop on the side of the road, but do not get out on the side of the road.
That's very important.
So safely, get out of your car, but go well off into the median, well off the highway. And the reason for that is just because just as you came up on that pileup very quickly, other motorists will do the same. And oftentimes, depending on the speed of those motorists, especially semis, have a very hard time stopping at a short distance in snow and slippery conditions. There's a lot of mass, a lot of inertia, a lot of momentum in these oncoming vehicles, and they essentially become battering rams. So do not stand near the highway. If you can get out of your car safely, I encourage you to do so, but go well away off the shoulder, well into the median, or well off into the ditch. That'll increase your safety chances. If you cannot, if you're pinned in your car, stay in your car with your seatbelt on. That's the safest thing for you to do if you cannot get out safely. In terms of a vehicle safety kit, I'll go over this here with you. These are some things that we put together that are very important to have in your car, not just during lake effect snow events, but as the winter as a whole. You never know what circumstances may arise in wintertime, especially in lake effect snow events as they come up quickly, and you never know what hazards you may run into. Always a good idea to have some blankets in your trunk. If you're in your car, so for example, if you are stuck on the highway and you can't get off until traffic is being diverted, it may get cold. Always have blankets in there. Have a NOAA weather radio, very important. You can listen to updated weather alerts and advisories from the National Weather Service as they come in. Emergency food, have some snacks in there. Trail mix, have some good healthy food in there that won't spoil. Peanut butter, that's another good one. Have a snow shovel in there in case you have to dig yourself out. Kitty litter or sand, that's something we did not put on here, but that's another very important item to have. Not only does it add weight in your car to help with traction, but it can also help you get out of slippery conditions if you apply that just in front of your tires. Flashlights, first aid kit. Also, leave your house with a full tank of gas. Don't leave with a quarter tank or half tank. Just in case you do get stuck on the highway and you have that fuel, you can have your car running and you can stay warm that way and you don't have to worry about running out of fuel. Tow ropes, very important to have in case you get it stuck in a ditch or in case you see someone stuck in the ditch, you may need a hand, They would love it if you were able to help them if you can do so safely. So a couple of tips there for traveling here over the course of the next few days, but also through the course of winter as well. So with that being said, let's go to some of your questions here and see what you have to say.
I see a few questions for Southeast Michigan. I see a Belleville question. I see Genesee County. I see a couple of questions here. So Southeast Michigan is going to come down to how far east these snow bands can get. And I will say this, the latest model, if we notice here on the southeast side, does bring in a few inches of accumulation here for Lenawee, Monroe, Washtenaw, Wayne, Livingston, and perhaps even Oakland County there. How much is probably going to be a few inches. I wouldn't expect too much out of it. But there may be a few areas, if you notice these thin bands here, can very often, or very rarely, should I say, they can dump a few more inches if they can stay over one spot for a good period of time. But I do think that Southeast Michigan, especially those bottom 6 counties, Lenawee, Monroe, Washtenaw, Wayne, Oakland, and Livingston, I do think there's potential for a few inches of accumulation. But I wouldn't bet your chances on anything more than that.
It'll be very localized too, as those bands will deviate and be scattered. They'll break up as they move further east off the lake. So you have that deviation there. So some people may see nothing and other people may see an inch or two. So really just depending on who's lucky enough to get the snow band and who doesn't get it.
See here. So Christy asked, kids are heading back to MTU and NMU. coming from the Thumb area. If it was you, would you travel? They're not sure they should leave Saturday or Sunday. Would be better. Honestly, I would travel probably Saturday. I think lake effect snow will die down just a bit on Saturday, so plows should get out and clear some of those roads. You should be probably good either day, either one of those days. I would go Saturday afternoon, just allow plows to get out there and clear the main interstates.
Yep.
My sister is driving KZU to Monroe 131.94 today. She'll be fine today, Cindy. She'll be just fine today. This is going to pick up later, like tonight. Tomorrow is the day to be worried about travel on 94 and 131. Today should be fine, though.
Yep.
How much snow for Dorr, Michigan? So we're going to have an updated map later, but Dorr currently we have in a 6 to 12 zone. So we'll have an updated map later. This may shift just a bit, but overall, this consensus and the areas are roughly what we're going to probably go off of here and just make some minor tweaks and shifts to the amounts and areas. We'll have this posted for you. I know we're coordinating with our forecast team, Joel and Alex, Caleb and I. Alex just put his stuff in there. So we're going to coordinate when we're off here. We'll have a map for you probably within a few hours, we'll hope to get it out for the Lions game, but we'll see. Not at 12:30 for those of you who don't know. Is the Aurora out? So there is a chance of the Aurora, but I don't think we're going to have a chance just because of cloud cover. Last night was a dud. We had a G1 watch yesterday, which is Mount Pleasant North for the Aurora. Didn't see anything happen. See here. Anything for Port Huron? That's a good question from Lauren here. So up in the Thumb of Michigan, we can sometimes get lake effect snow, and I wouldn't be shocked to see a 1, maybe 2-inch stat up there by Port Huron, up in Huron County there, perhaps even Sanilac as well. Overall models don't really show much anything happening, but just because the way these bands are moving further inland on the models, we could get a few inches up there because that area especially is prone to that. So not out of the question. I wouldn't expect accumulation, but I wouldn't be shocked to see an inch or two up there. How much snow for Marquette? So Marquette specifically, we're expecting probably between about 6 inches or so, maybe upwards of 8. You're so close to the water up there where the warm lake influence. This goes for any close inland areas to the lakes. Like if you're immediate proximity to like Michigan, Huron, up there and Superior as well. Your lake waters are at warm record temperatures, so that's going to impact the immediate lakeshore areas, warming them up a few degrees, and that's going to prevent snowfall accumulation or some snowfall accumulation from actually occurring. So keep that in mind. But I'd say 6 inches or so would be a good Marquette total between now and Saturday.
And that also includes those along the shoreline of Lake Michigan too.
Mm-hmm.
So. Grand
Rapids right now we have in a 3 to 6. Although if we have a little bit of a more westerly oriented wind, Grand Rapids could definitely get in on some of this action here, or more of the action, should I say. You're going to get snow, but you could get more there. We'll have to keep an eye on that, watch the wind directions, and we'll adjust as needed.
Yep, and just as a reminder, this is not a widespread snowstorm. This is a lake effect snow event. So just because you're in a 6 to 12 zone or 12 to 20, vice versa, doesn't mean you're actually going to hit all of those numbers, but your neighbor could. So it really just depends on where those bands set up, and they'll shift. They'll move up and down the lake throughout the course of this time too. So they'll shift. So your neighbor may be getting dumped on while you're not getting dumped on, and vice versa. So do keep that in mind as we go through the course of the weekend as well. So
Judah asks, so no snow for us in Southeast Michigan. So depending on where you're at in Southeast Michigan, going back to that model we were just looking at, we could see a few lake effect bands make it over into Southeast Michigan. Although I'm going to say confidence in that happening is low. I do think there's a good shot though. Based on what we're seeing with the models, we have a really good setup here for inland moving lake effect bands. We definitely could get these bands over in the southeast side. So Livingston, Oakland, Wayne, Washtenaw, Lenawee, Monroe counties. I'd definitely be, I'm not going to say alert just because of snow, but I wouldn't be shocked to see a few inches of snow tomorrow evening.
The bands will likely be breaking up by that point in time, but they could still put down a heavy burst of snow here and there. So a quick dusting or two, maybe up to an inch or two is possible, depending on how those bands evolve and deviate. So something to keep an eye on for sure.
Detroit, I'm going to probably say about an inch or so, but if we can get those bands to push inland, we could get 2 or 3, but I wouldn't expect more than that.
Yeah.
Will the warmer waters make the snow more intense? So that does play a factor, Karen. It does. It like what we said before, it hinders like the immediate lakeshore areas from accumulating snow. But overall, warm lake waters, when it combines with these cold systems with our westerly oriented winds, that will help snow. Yes, lake effect snow.
Yeah, those of you guys in the most intense bands, it's what we call growth zones. So how much moisture, what are the clouds going to grow? That all correlates to your snowflake size. So we're actually going to see some pretty big snowflakes here in the most intense lake effect bands, especially across northern Michigan, even lower Michigan too, across southwest lower Michigan, in the most convective bands or deeper bands. I wouldn't even be surprised to see, I can't rule out lightning either. There might be a few lightning strikes in a few of these more intense bands too, just because we have a lot of potential for growth on these lake effect clouds. That could support perhaps a few lightning strikes too. So some thunder snow chances in here too. I can't really define an exact area where that's more likely versus another. But just because we have a lot of surface instability over the warm lake waters, these clouds could get fairly tall. So I can't rule that out either. So. But something else I want to mention here is the wind associated with this system as well, especially across the UP. Winds could gust in excess of 35 miles an hour along and near the lakeshore, especially over there towards Ontonagon and the Porcupine Mountains, that area. You could be gusting to 35 plus. As we move further east, a little bit less, but still nonetheless gusting to 30 miles an hour. When you have these really strong winds combined with really intense lake effect snow squalls, that only increases the danger of this snow. Not only do you have whiteout conditions, but now you have winds blowing at 30 to 35 miles an hour. Now you have drifting snow, blowing snow. All of that adds into the travel impacts that we're going to see over the course of this weekend, starting tomorrow night, especially tomorrow through tomorrow night. But that's something else to keep in mind when we're driving. It's not going to come down and sit. It's going to blow a little bit. So we are going to see some drifting. We do expect some drifting as well. Despite this being a really wet snow, we do feel there is enough wind here to blow some of it around. So do keep that in mind.
Let's see a question. Best and worst travel days between Friday and Sunday. I'm going to say Saturday is going to be your best travel day. Not morning. I'd get out there after the plows get out. So Saturday afternoon and evening, perhaps. Yeah. But snow itself will be on the lull, but we'll pick back up likely Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
So I think Saturday will be your best bet. How much for Sault Ste. Marie? I'm going to put you in 12 to 20 over the course of the next 5 days. Now, this map, keep in mind, this map on your screen there is a 5-day snowfall total. So we'll adjust this as for Friday only later today, and also another 5-day outlook for you guys, a final 5-day outlook. I see a couple questions here about some differences between our forecast and news stations and other pages here in the state. So I just want to say we're forecasting for the 5-day period. A lot of these people are only forecasting for like 1 or 2 days. So that's why you see a lot less in the way of amounts on those sources. So at the end of the 5 days, we should be around or at least close proximity to these amounts in these locations.
Yeah.
So just because you wake up Saturday morning, you don't have 6 to 12 in the Battle Creek, you have 3 or 4 more days to get through. So,
yeah.
Yes, we will be live for coverage tomorrow. We're going to have a few chasers who are going to go out. We also have a few still cameras across the state to kind of peek in and keep an eye on things. We'll be live here on Michigan Storm Chasers to cover that. It won't be as exciting as severe weather, or perhaps as scary as severe weather, how you want to look at it, but we'll be here.
Yeah, lake effect snow can still be dangerous in its own way. So
for sure.
You'd be cognizant of that if you are on the road. Like I see a question here from Heather. Will Holland get a lot? I wanted to go Black Friday shopping. Or I wanted to go Black Friday. Should I not go? So a lot of people are probably going to be out on the roads trying to go Black Friday shopping tomorrow. So with that being said, be cognizant of where you're at. Holland, Michigan, for instance, you're in that 6 to 12 range, kind of right on the line there. So we do expect 6 to 12 inches through Tuesday. Lake effect snow will start to pick up along Lake Michigan later tonight, mainly after midnight. We'll start to see that ramp up a little bit, and definitely into the day tomorrow. Tomorrow is when you're really going to see those bands really pop up. So if you are out on the road doing shopping, just be cognizant of other drivers on the road. Take your time and be prepared. So as some of those bands could be really heavy, like we talked about earlier, reduced visibilities, heavy snowfall rates in excess of 1 inch to 2 inches per hour possible in some of the more intense bands. So do keep that in mind if you are out on the roads tomorrow. Be safe, be careful, and stay warm.
Lansing, we currently have in a 1 to 3 contour. You are close to the 3 to 6, though, so I'm going to say locally higher amounts are possible. Based on new data, we'll have an updated map for you later today, posted on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
As Caleb said a few minutes ago, this is a lake effect event. So those on the east side, if you're up in Bad Axe, Ann Arbor, Detroit, Port Huron, even Ithaca there, the reason that indentation is there is because the way the lake and the state is oriented, how lake effect bands usually interact with Michigan. So there's going to be a little bit of a crease, so to speak, there toward the Grand Rapids area where they're going to have probably little to no snow just because the way the winds are oriented. So if you're like Montcalm County, for example, you're kind of sandwiched between 6 to 12 and 3 to 6 there, but you're at a trace to 1, and that's completely normal for lake effect. We will have system snow this year. So if you're in Southeast Michigan wondering when's going to snow, we haven't had snow in a while. It will eventually.
And keep in mind, too, this is a very, very early lake effect snow event, especially for this scale of a lake effect snow event. We don't normally see these contours this early in the year. We get lake effect snow this time of year, but not to this extent. This is a very early setup. So, and winter hasn't even started yet. I mean, meteorological winter starts here on the 1st of December. And then astronomical winter, the official start of winter, starts on the 21st. So we are still a couple weeks away from the official start of winter. So we are watching a clipper system for the middle of next week that could bring additional a few inches of snow here for parts of the state of Michigan. Right along the Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. There's your lake effect snow coming in. There's your Alberta clipper system here moving in here. And so we are watching that. That'll bring additional lake effect snow chances into next week. And then some what we call synoptic snow, and that's your more system snow. That's what brings widespread snow. Lake effect snow is more isolated. Synoptic snow, that's your big low pressure system. That's what's going to bring snow to places further inland from the lakes. So we are watching those two. And but like I said, winter's still early. Southeast Lower Michigan, Bad Axe, don't feel bad. You're going to get some snow this winter. It is coming. You may not get it this time, but you'll get it eventually, I promise.
J-Man asked a question here. Will this cold pattern break towards late December? The answer right now is uncertain, but I'm leaning more so toward yes, based on what I'm seeing with models. We should have a little bit of a warm up. And I'm not talking to 60 degrees. I'm talking to seasonal warm temperatures, perhaps. We should break out of the 30s here by the time mid-December comes around. But hey, we are 20 days away from that. So let's just pump the brakes on that. We'll get into long term here in the future, but let's focus one thing at a time here. That's lake effect snow.
Yeah, building on that though, what we have really high confidence in is the coldest air mass of the season, and that is going to move in tomorrow night. Low temperatures, even high temperatures, are going to be not getting out of the 20s on Saturday statewide. Nobody will be out of the 20s on Saturday. Even in places in southwest portions of the UP, over towards Iron County, Ontonagon areas over there, you could have low temperatures in the single digits and wind chills below zero. And this is when everybody needs to say, thank you, Lake Michigan, because Lake Michigan actually protects the LP of Michigan from a lot of these bursts of Canadian Arctic air. Indiana is not so lucky, but Michigan in particular gets shielded from these Arctic blasts by Lake Michigan because of those warmer waters. So Wisconsin's going to be very cold, into the negatives here Saturday night. However, we are going to be in the single digits to teens for wind chills come Saturday night across the LP. Low temperatures will be in the teens Saturday night, but don't be surprised to see some wind chills drop below 10 degrees. So that is something of high confidence that we have. Regardless of snow, it's going to get cold. So even though you may not get snow in bad acts in areas across western Michigan, it's going to get cold. So do be prepared for that. Make sure your propane tanks are filled, and just be ready. It's going to get cold.
I know a lot of you guys are going to hear cold and snow and go, I want warm weather. Honestly, though, we need this. We need a good freeze here in Michigan. So this is much needed. We didn't have that last year for too often. It's going to be good for the overall environment and ecosystem of Michigan. We need this. So
it helps out with the mosquitoes, helps out with your insect control. But it also helps out. It has really good beneficial hydrological impacts too. Your snowpack impacts your water table. A lot of Michigan right now is in a drought. And if we do end up getting, 12 to 20 inches over the course of the next 5 days across northern Michigan, where there's a severe drought ongoing and a moderate drought, that's going to greatly impact a beneficial impact to our drought monitor as well. So it's a good thing in a way.
I see Lynn with a $2 super chat. Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate your work. Hey, Lynn, thank you and appreciate your generous donation. Appreciate your support.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too. And to everybody here. We hope everybody has a joyous and thankful Thanksgiving today.
Absolutely. We're going to be doing giveaways on our page after we get our forecast made. So stay tuned for that. Probably later tonight, we'll have some giveaways, MSC swag, maybe weather radio too. We'll see.
Yeah,
and also, we're going to be running a Black Friday sale on our merch as well. So if you want some merch, we'll have a 15% discount coming code for you guys to use later tonight. So
if
you guys are interested. So I see a question from Anna about where's the storm watch. So there are winter storm warnings in portions of Michigan. In fact,
we can pull that up here for you.
I can pull that up here real quick, Caleb.
Currently, right now, the winter storm warnings are across northern Michigan, the UP in Michigan, and around Gaylord. We do expect, I know a lot of people are asking, where's the advisories for southwest lower Michigan? We do expect them to come potentially as early as this afternoon. Right now, the National Weather Service is not sure. They're discussing whether to issue a winter storm warning or winter weather advisory. That'll be up to their discretion. But there is a chance something could get issued for southwest Michigan and along Lake Michigan later this afternoon. But here's your current winter storm warnings. Ryan, if you want to go into that.
We have Southern Schoolcraft County. We also have, I lost my place. Give me a second. I'm going to get these counties back up. We have, I had these memorized this morning when I was doing these posts, but we have Keweenaw County, we have Baraga, Ontonagon, Gogebic, Houghton, Alger, Luce, and Schoolcraft. We also have Atrim, Otsego, Kalkaska, and Crawford counties, all in a winter storm warning.
And Schoolcraft is kind of the oddball up there. It is split with a winter storm warning to the north and a winter weather advisory to the south. That's just because of the indicative nature of lake effect snow. The heaviest amounts are going to be in northern Schoolcraft County, with a little bit less further south over towards Manistee. And that's just because of the nature of lake effect snow. So,
and for those of you in Southwest Michigan, it's going to be a battle, I think, between models today, this morning, this afternoon, to what NWS does, because we're kind of flirting with advisory versus warning criteria. So I think, I don't know the exact criteria for winter storm warnings, but 6 to 12 inches, if that's the higher end of things over a shorter period of time, we could definitely see some winter storm warnings be introduced there. But I would think a lot of you guys in West Michigan will see advisories by day's end. There's a lot of uncertainty with these lake effect events that preclude issuance of watches and even warnings and advisories this far in advance. So
a lot of it has to do with the amount of snow in a duration of time. If it's going to be a lot of snow in a longer duration of time, it may not be a storm warning, it may be more of an advisory. It really just depends on how much is coming and how soon. So that's what they're kind of waiting to see before they issue that here.
Why doesn't my weather app show anything? So depending on where you're at in Michigan, it may not show much at all. If you're on the east side of Michigan, you're not going to see much. Menominee County up there by Felch, Menominee itself, no, you're not going to see much of anything. But if
And
you're in
weather
one of
apps
these
are ever evolving too. So even if you're in like this 12 to 20 zone and your weather app shows nothing, it'll show something come tonight and tomorrow. I mean, weather apps, the way those algorithms work, they adjust all the time. And a lot of times we see this during severe weather events too, where my app doesn't show any storms, and then 8 o'clock the thunder rolls, and vice versa. So take that with a grain of salt. But lake effect snow is a guarantee for a lot of areas tonight into tomorrow. So.
All right, any more questions before we hop off here? Been on here about 35 minutes or so. We want to get on with our day. I know you guys want to get on with yours, so I don't want to spend too much time here. Overall synopsis, lake effect snow will begin later this. It actually is begun for UP and perhaps even Southwest lower there. We're getting some reports of snow. I think that's more of a lingering system snow as it moves through. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't looked at radar this morning for Southwest, but we are getting reports of Southwest Michigan getting some snow there. So overall, if you're on the east side of Michigan there in the gray areas, you're not going to get too much. We'll adjust this forecast through the day. But for those of you in southeast Michigan, like Lenawee, Monroe, Wayne, Washtenaw, Oakland, Livingston, you may get a few inches based on latest data. I see a couple questions here for Flint, Genesee County, Port Huron. You guys are likely too far north for anything meaningful. Maybe a few snow showers, but I wouldn't expect accumulating snow up there for you guys in Genesee or up there in the thumb, really. Exception of Huron County, where we could get a few inches, depending on how those lake effect bands from the Gaylord area traverse down. But overall, this is a 5-day snowfall map for you guys. We'll have an update later. I have adjustments. We'll have this refined for you guys. So stay tuned for that. With that being said, we're going to pop out of here, get on with our day, and let you guys get on with yours. But do pay attention to our page for the updates. And also we'll have some giveaways and some merch codes, discount codes for you guys later tonight if you're interested. Before we hop off, I see Pamela with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Pamela, for that. And she says, thanks, guys. Appreciate that. And thank you for your support. With that being said, we're going to pop out of here. You guys enjoy your holiday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for some live coverage of this lake effect event in West Michigan.